Hello! In this tutorial I will show you how to populate the description of sites with fields of the attribute table of geofiles when using the mass upload function of the explorer.land platform. In other words, what you want to see when finalizing the import process of a geofile with several sites is data from the attribute table being displayed in the site description in a formatted way, as you can see here. So why is this interesting? Currently, sites have two text fields, which is the title and the description. When importing a geofile to populate several sites, you will have the possibility to map different fields from the attribute table to these two fields of the site, which is the title and the description. But all the other fields in the attribute table will not be imported into the site. And this might be a problem if you have more information in your attribute table which you want to be presented on the site description. The process we present in this tutorial will allow you to import whatever field you have in your attribute table into the description of the site. What should you already know before starting with this tutorial? First, you should understand how the mass upload functionality works. Secondly, you should know what the markdown formatting is. And finally, you should have a basic understanding of how to use the software QuantumGIS, which we will need in this process. To learn more about the first and second point, just check the links in the description of this video. So let's start. First, open the QuantumGIS software. Take the geofile which you want to import into the explorer.land platform later on and drag and drop it into the area of your map. So you see in this example I have a file which has 3 polygons, and by looking at the attribute table you see also that there are 4 columns which correspond to 4 fields, namely an ID, a farmer, a number of trees, and a year. So the idea now is to import all of these fields into the description field of the site on the platform. How can we do this? To start with, click on the pen to go over into the edit modus. What we will do now is to calculate or create a new field which collects all of the other fields. This can be done using the field calculator, which is represented by this icon. Just click on it and you will have a new window. So in this window, you first have to select create a new field. You will have to give this field a name. I like to name it overview. Important is that you select the text string format or field type and then update the length of the field to 255, which should be the maximum length of the field. In the next step, we will go into this list of operations, functions, and variables, and we will click on the group string to select the function concat. So what this function does is to take strings and different variables, which can be also of the type integer, and merge them together into one single string. Before I continue, I will close the brackets in order to avoid some mistake towards the end of the editing. And now what I can do is to introduce my first string. In this case, I want to have a label, which is called farmer. I use the column, space, and again, apostrophe. So every string is defined within these 2 apostrophes. I type in a comma, and now I will fetch my variable farmer, which corresponds to the field farmer, and this will then populate this placeholder with the element or the content of the field farmer. Important is that I want to have a line break, so I will introduce this \n also within apostrophes so that it will be saved as a string. By the way, it is not necessary to create new lines. This is just to maintain the overview. Now I will introduce the next label, which is the year. And I will now fetch the variable year, which is available from my attribute table. Again, a comma. To force a line break later on, I will introduce again this \n. And finally, the last field I want to show is the number of trees. I will create a label called trees, comma, and now I will fetch my variable trees. And you see already the preview here on the bottom how this will look like later on. So before I click on OK and I calculate this new field, I want to make use of the markdown which is available on the platform, and which I ask you to check in the description below. The markdown works by using symbols to format text. So what we can do, and since I want to have the labels in a bold format, is to introduce twice the asterisk before and after the label, always within the apostrophe symbols. The same thing for the year and the trees. So this will force the platform to show these fields as a bold, in a bold format. And finally, before saving the whole thing, I also want to introduce a title here, an H3 title, which is represented by 3 times the hash symbol. All of that also within the apostrophe, since we're still talking about a string. I will call this fact sheet and then close the string, and not to forget again a line break, comma, and now we're through with this. So what is going to happen here? I will start having my description with a fact sheet title. After that, I will have a list with 3 labels, namely farmer, year, and trees, and the respective value of the respective entry in the attribute table, which will then populate a site. So once I'm through with this, I will click on OK, and you see now that the new field was generated. Let me open this a bit so that you see how this looks like. And since I assume that everything is okay, I will click on the save icon and finish the edit procedure by clicking again on the pen. So we're through with editing the attribute table. The next step will be to export this layer as a GeoJSON in order to upload it to the platform. So for that, do a right mouse click on the layer, go down to export, and choose the save feature as menu item. So you see we already have selected the format GeoJSON. I will select a place on my desktop where to save the whole thing. I will just call this new sites. Click on save. And then very important is that the geographical reference system, that it has to be the VGS 84, which is represented by the EPSG code 4326, because this is the native reference system of the platform. And with these 3 settings, you're through. You can click on OK and save the layer as a new GeoJSON on your platform, on your desktop. Now going back to the platform, go back to the site list within the project where you want to add it or upload the different sites. Click on the mass upload icon and now select the newly created file, which is called new sites.geojson. Open it, and you see immediately that we are we have the polygons we were looking at previously in the QuantumGIS software. So for the title, I will just choose the field farmer. But now for the description, I will use the overview field we just created. And you see the preview that we have all of these elements which we created before with the additional symbols for the markdown. So that should be okay. I will click on upload. And you see that we have now imported these 3 sites. And I will immediately publish the first one to see it in the front end, to see how the import happened. And you see that now the description has these different fields from the attribute table with the respective formatting of the labels and of the title text. It is important to know that this process can only be carried out once, because after you have imported all the sites, you will have populated your site list and you will be only able to edit them individually in the list. So there is no way of repeating it by substituting the existing ones. In that case, should you have done something wrong, you would be obliged to delete them first and then carry out the whole thing again. Anyhow, once you have imported the different sites and you want to edit them, you see that the field overview which we created before in QuantumGIS is already available there, but you can now add additional descriptions. For that site specifically. And edit all the other fields like the category. So we're talking about agriculture combined with reforestation. You can upload a header image later on, and so on. So the typical operations which are available for each site. So just to finish this tutorial, I will have a look again at the site in the front end. And you see we have the new header image, the just edited tags, and the latest edition of the description and the fact sheet as we wanted to have it here when importing the GeoJSON file. So I hope I could show you a way to import more than one field from your attribute table, although we don't have that functionality explicitly in the platform, but which already helps users to bring in information which is important for a specific site within the operation of mass upload of dozens or even hundreds of sites. Please leave any question or comment in the comment section below, and I will try to answer you in case there are some doubts, or if you find some mistake in the tutorial, please let me know. And thank you for watching.